The Panama Canal killed over 20,000 people before a single ship ever passed through it. And here's the part almost nobody knows. The thing that killed them wasn't the mountains. It wasn't the mud, or the dynamite, or the landslides. It was an enemy so small you could barely see it. An insect. This is the story of how the most ambitious shortcut in human history became a graveyard. How one doctor figured out the real killer, and how engineers finally beat a jungle that had defeated everyone before them. By doing something that sounds insane. Instead of digging a canal down to the sea, they lifted giant ocean ships up and over a mountain. Here's how. Now watch why anyone tried this in the first place. Look at a map of the Americas. To sail from New York to San Francisco, a ship had to go all the way down and around the bottom of South America. A brutal detour of thousands of extra miles around Cape Horn, through some of the deadliest seas on Earth. But look closer at Panama. Right here, a thin strip of land, just 50 miles wide, is the only thing separating the Atlantic from the Pacific. 50 miles. Cut a channel through that sliver of land, and you'd save every ship on Earth thousands of miles. Whoever built it would control the flow of global trade. The prize was almost too big to imagine. On paper, obvious. In reality, a death trap. And the first man to try was a legend. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the Frenchman who had just built the Suez Canal in Egypt and stunned the world. So, in 1881, he comes to Panama, supremely confident. His plan is simple. Dig a canal straight across its sea level, a flat ditch from ocean to ocean, exactly like he did at Suez. But Panama is not Egypt. Egypt was flat, dry desert.
But Panama wasn't Egypt. It was a brutal jungle, and the French completely underestimate it.
Panama is mountainous jungle, drenched in rain, crawling with disease. And de Lesseps has made a fatal assumption. He thinks the only obstacle is the dirt. Here's the first problem that destroyed him. Right through the middle of Panama runs a mountain range, the Continental Divide. To cut a sea-level canal, the French had to carve straight through solid mountain. And every time it rained, and it rained constantly, the walls of their trench collapsed. Tons of mud and rock slid right back into the hole they'd just dug. They'd excavate for weeks, and a single landslide would erase all of it overnight. The jungle was filling the ditch back in as fast as they could empty it. But that wasn't the real killer. Because as the men worked, they started dying. By the thousands. 2 diseases swept through the camps: yellow fever and malaria. Yellow fever was the nightmare. A healthy man could be fine in the morning and dead within days. Skin turned yellow, bleeding internally. And here is the tragedy at the heart of the French disaster. Nobody knew what caused it. Doctors in 1881 believed disease came from bad air, poisonous fumes rising off the rotting jungle. So they fought the wrong war entirely. In the hospitals, to protect patients from crawling ants, they placed the legs of every bed in little bowls of water. Think about that. Those bowls of still water were perfect breeding pools for mosquitoes. The hospitals meant to heal people were quietly hatching the very thing that was killing them.
Unknowingly, the very hospitals built to save these men became their death sentence.
The numbers became a horror. At the peak, workers were dying at a rate of 200 a month. Any rumor that yellow fever had arrived in town sent men running for their lives. After nearly a decade, over 20,000 people were dead. The money ran out. In 1889, the French company collapsed into total bankruptcy, and de Lesseps, the hero of Suez, was ruined and disgraced. The canal was abandoned, a rusting, jungle-swallowed graveyard. It looked like proof that Panama simply could not be conquered. Now the numbers of what it would actually take. 50 miles of canal through mountain and swamp. Over 200 million cubic yards of earth and rock to move. Many times more than the Suez Canal. And a wild river, the Chagres, that could rise dozens of feet in a single storm and wash the whole project away. On paper, madness. But America was about to try anyway. In 1904, the United States takes over the abandoned French dig. And at first, the same nightmare begins. Yellow fever and malaria start killing American workers too. But this time, one man has a different idea. His name is Dr. William Gorgas, and Gorgas believes something that most people still doubt, that these diseases aren't spread by bad air at all. They're spread by mosquitoes. So instead of fighting the sickness in the hospitals, he goes after the insect itself. This is the turning point of the entire story. Watch what Gorgas does. He declares war on standing water, because that's where mosquitoes breed.
Before building anything, they had to fight a war against the insect itself.
His teams drain swamps. They pour oil and kerosene over every puddle, pond, and ditch to suffocate the larvae before they hatch. They fumigate entire buildings with choking smoke. They put screens on windows across the whole canal zone. It's not glamorous engineering. It's mosquito extermination on a massive scale. And it works. By the end of 1905, yellow fever has vanished from Panama completely. Gone. The invisible enemy that beat the French is finally defeated. Not with medicine, but by killing the messenger. Only now can the real building begin. And here comes the genius decision that saved the whole project. The Americans looked at what killed the French, trying to dig all the way down to sea level through a mountain, fighting that flooding river the entire way, and they refused to repeat it. Instead, they asked a wild question. What if we don't lower the canal to the ships? What if we raise the ships up to the canal? Here's the plan, and it's brilliant. That dangerous Chagres River that kept flooding everything? Don't fight it. Trap it. They build a colossal dam, the Gatun Dam, the largest earth dam in the world at the time, right across the river. The river backs up behind it and floods an entire valley, creating a giant artificial lake called Gatun Lake, sitting about 85 feet above the level of the sea. Now, the middle of your canal isn't a trench you have to dig through a mountain. It's a lake, high up in the hills. This one move slashed the amount of digging by nearly half. The problem became the solution. But that creates a new puzzle. If the lake in the middle is 85 feet up in the air, how do you get a 50,000-ton ocean ship up to it and back down the other side? The answer is the heart of the Panama Canal: locks.
This is the solution: a massive staircase of water to lift ocean liners over a mountain.
A lock is a giant watertight chamber with gates on both ends. A ship sails in, the gates close behind it, and water floods in from the lake above. The ship floats up with the rising water like a toy in a filling bathtub. When it reaches the next level, the front gates open and the ship sails out, now higher than it was. Chain 3 of these together, and you climb a ship up a staircase of water, step by step, to the lake at the top. On the far side, the process runs in reverse to lower it back down to the ocean. And the scale of these locks is staggering. Each chamber is 110 feet wide and 1,000 feet long, big enough to swallow an ocean liner whole. The gates that hold back all that water weigh up to 700 tons each. And here's the most elegant part. The whole system uses no pumps at all. Every drop of water that lifts these massive ships is moved by gravity alone, flowing down from the high lake through tunnels the size of train tunnels into the chambers below. Small motors swing the giant gates shut in about 2 minutes. Millions of tons of shipping lifted over a mountain, powered by nothing but water running downhill. And the ships don't sail through the locks under their own power. One wrong nudge could smash a vessel into the concrete walls just inches away on each side. So little towing locomotives called mules run along tracks on the lock walls, cabled to the ship, guiding it through dead straight and slow.
Every movement here is precise. One wrong nudge could destroy a multi-ton ship.
And the entire operation, every gate, every valve, every rush of water across the whole canal, is run from a single control board by one team of operators. A giant model of the canal that lets them see and command all of it from one room. But one brutal obstacle still remained: the mountain itself. The continental divide still had to be cut through, the same place that buried the French in landslides. This was the Culebra Cut, a 9-mile man-made canyon blasted straight through the spine of the mountains. It became the most dangerous job on the project. Crews drilled holes and packed them with dynamite, tens of millions of pounds of it, then blasted the rock apart. Dozens of steam shovels loaded the shattered stone onto trains that ran day and night, hauling the debris away by the trainload. And still the landslides came, burying track and machines, sometimes killing men. But the Americans had a weapon the French lacked: enough healthy workers to simply outdig the mountain, load by load, year after year. On August 15, 1914, it's finally done. A ship called the Ancon makes the first official crossing, sailing from the Atlantic, climbing the water staircase up to Gatun Lake, gliding across the flooded valley, cutting through the mountain, and dropping back down to the Pacific. A journey that once meant thousands of miles around a continent now took hours. But the world barely noticed. Just days earlier, World War I had erupted in Europe, and it swallowed all the headlines.
And here's how deeply this canal reshaped the world. Those lock chambers, 110 feet wide,
These exact dimensions quietly dictated the shape of the world's ships for a century.
set a hard limit on how big a ship could be and still take the shortcut. So for the next 100 years, shipbuilders around the planet designed their vessels to exactly fit the Panama Canal, down to the foot. They even had a name for the maximum size: Panamax. A canal cut through a jungle in 1914 quietly dictated the shape of the world's ships for a century. Here's the bottom line. Two nations tried to conquer the same 50 miles of jungle. The first attacked the dirt and lost, killed by an enemy it never even identified. The second won by fighting a different war entirely, beating the mosquito first, then refusing to dig down and instead lifting ships over a mountain with a lake, a dam, and a staircase of water. The Panama Canal wasn't a victory of brute force. It was a victory of finally understanding what you were actually up against. But that understanding was paid for in blood. Around 25,000 lives across both attempts, most of them Caribbean workers whose names history almost forgot. Every ship that glides through today is passing over their graves. But cutting through the land is one thing. What happens when engineers build up instead, half a kilometer into the sky, where the wind alone can tear a tower apart? Or out into the open sea, on ground that doesn't even exist yet? That's next time. If you love watching humans take on nature and win, subscribe. This is the kind of story we break down here. See you at the next impossible structure.